Could do with. I could do with a cup of coffee right now. This room could do with a bit of tidying up. We could do with some extra help on this project. He could do with a vacation after all that hard work. You could do with a new pair of shoes, those are worn out. She could do with some advice on her resume. This garden could do with a little more sunlight. They could do with a bigger office space. I could do with some peace and quiet. The car could do with a wash. We could do with more time to make a decision. He could do with a better internet connection at home. You could do with a break after studying for hours. She could do with a confidence boost. This cake could do with a bit more sugar. They could do with some support from the community. I could do with a warmer jacket in this weather. The team could do with some new equipment. You could do with a good night's sleep. She could do with a friend like you. We could do with a little more enthusiasm here. He could do with some patience. You could do with a change of scenery. This meal could do with a pinch of salt. They could do with a clearer direction for the project. Could use. I could use some help with these boxes. She could use a friend right now. We could use a break from all this noise. He could use your expertise on this matter. You could use a vacation to recharge. They could use a bit more time to get it right. This room could use some fresh air. I could use a second opinion on this dress. We could use some more volunteers for the event. She could use a boost in her career. The car could use some maintenance. He could use a reminder about tomorrow's meeting. You could use a day off to relax. They could use some encouragement. This garden could use some watering. I could use a good laugh. We could use more information before making a decision. She could use a little understanding. The team could use a pep talk. You could use a warmer coat in this cold. He could use some advice on buying a house. They could use a guide through the city. This project could use your creative touch. I could use a workout to relieve some stress. We could use a bit more enthusiasm from everyone. Might as well. We're late already, might as well take our time getting there. I might as well finish the book tonight since I'm almost done. Since we're here, we might as well check out the museum. You've already spoiled the surprise, might as well tell me everything now. If it's going to rain all day, we might as well stay in and watch movies. He's not listening to us, we might as well stop talking. Since the sale ends today, I might as well buy it now. You're already halfway through the course, might as well complete it. If they're going to be late, we might as well start without them. Since I have to wait, I might as well read a book. If you're going to criticize, you might as well offer a solution. She's already seen the message, she might as well reply. If you can't beat them, might as well join them. Since we have leftovers, we might as well eat them for dinner. If the meeting is going to drag on, I might as well get comfortable. You've come this far, you might as well see it through to the end. Since I'm awake, I might as well get an early start on the day. If it's on your way, you might as well drop off the package. Since the damage is done, we might as well learn from it. If you're feeling generous, you might as well donate a little more. Since we've discussed everything else, we might as well address the elephant in the room. If I'm going to dream, I might as well dream big. Since you're going out, you might as well pick up some groceries. If it's free, you might as well take advantage of the offer. Since you're reviewing the document, you might as well check for typos. Would rather. I would rather stay in tonight than go out. She would rather read a book than watch television. They would rather travel by train than by plane. He would rather cook at home than eat out. We would rather walk than take the bus in this beautiful weather. You would rather listen to music than go to a concert. I would rather spend time with family than work late hours. She would rather write a letter than send an email. They would rather live in the countryside than in the city. He would rather play sports than watch them on TV. We would rather make our gifts than buy them. You would rather study early in the morning than late at night. I would rather have tea than coffee in the evening. She would rather start her own business than work for someone else. They would rather adopt a pet than buy one. He would rather discuss issues face to face than over the phone. We would rather go hiking than stay at a resort. You would rather learn a new language than a musical instrument. I would rather bake my own bread than buy it from the store. She would rather take pictures than be in them. They would rather explore a new city than relax on a beach. He would rather read historical fiction than a biography. We would rather ride bicycles than drive cars. You would rather have a small, intimate gathering than a large party. I would rather watch independent films than blockbuster movies. Would prefer to. I would prefer to stay at a boutique hotel rather than a chain. She would prefer to discuss this matter privately. They would prefer to delay the project until next quarter. He would prefer to receive feedback in writing. We would prefer to celebrate our anniversary somewhere quiet. You would prefer to work independently, if possible. I would prefer to avoid heavy traffic by leaving early. She would prefer to have a window seat on the flight. They would prefer to dine at a restaurant with vegetarian options. He would prefer to receive the report by email. We would prefer to have a meeting agenda in advance. You would prefer to wear casual attire to the event. I would prefer to hear the news directly from you. She would prefer to invest in quality over quantity. They would prefer to start the presentation with an overview. He would prefer to have a quiet space to work in. We would prefer to make reservations ahead of time. You would prefer to keep the meeting brief. I would prefer to get a second opinion before proceeding. She would prefer to spend her leisure time outdoors. They would prefer to use renewable energy sources. He would prefer to focus on one task at a time. We would prefer to celebrate small victories along the way. You would prefer to use public transport rather than a car. I would prefer to discuss long-term goals at the next meeting. Would like to. I would like to order the pasta, please. She would like to thank everyone for their support. They would like to visit Japan next year. He would like to apply for the manager position. We would like to reserve a table for 4. You would like to change your flight to an earlier time. I would like to take a moment to appreciate this beautiful view. She would like to contribute to the project in any way she can. They would like to announce their engagement to the family. He would like to express his concerns about the plan. We would like to request some adjustments to the design. You would like to take a day off next week. I would like to dedicate this song to my parents. She would like to learn how to play the piano. They would like to offer a discount to first-time customers. He would like to extend his stay by a few more days. We would like to invite you to our wedding. You would like to start a book club. I would like to propose a toast to the newlyweds. She would like to run a marathon someday. They would like to open a coffee shop in their neighborhood. He would like to discuss a potential collaboration. We would like to create a more inclusive workplace. You would like to adopt a more sustainable lifestyle. I would like to end this meeting on a positive note. Should like to. I should like to request your presence at the dinner gala. She should like to extend her heartfelt gratitude to all participants. They should like to inquire about the possibility of rescheduling the meeting. He should like to express his sincere apologies for any inconvenience caused. We should like to emphasize the importance of timely submissions. You should like to consider the proposal thoroughly before making a decision. I should like to propose an amendment to the current policy. She should like to confirm her attendance at the conference. They should like to seek clarification on a few points mentioned in the report. He should like to offer his expertise on the matter at hand. We should like to encourage more interactive sessions during the workshops. You should like to review the contract details one more time. I should like to commend the team for their exceptional dedication. She should like to participate in the charity event next month. They should like to recommend some changes to the initial plan. He should like to withdraw his previous statement in light of new evidence. We should like to organize a retreat for team-building purposes. You should like to notify us of any dietary restrictions in advance. I should like to remind everyone to adhere to the dress code. She should like to assure everyone of her commitment to the project. They should like to express their eagerness to collaborate with our firm. He should like to pledge a donation to the foundation. We should like to solicit feedback on our recent service improvements. You should like to update your contact information for our records. I should like to conclude by thanking everyone for their valuable contributions. Owe it to oneself to. You owe it to yourself to take a break and recharge. He owes it to himself to pursue his dream of becoming an artist. She owes it to herself to apply for the promotion. We owe it to ourselves to take this once-in-a-lifetime trip. You owe it to yourself to speak up for what you believe in. I owe it to myself to complete my novel. They owe it to themselves to live life to the fullest. He owes it to himself to seek a second opinion on his health. You owe it to yourself to invest in your education. She owes it to herself to celebrate her achievements. We owe it to ourselves to maintain a healthy work-life balance. You owe it to yourself to follow your passion. I owe it to myself to make more time for my hobbies. They owe it to themselves to stand up against injustice. He owes it to himself to take the risk and start his own business. You owe it to yourself to ask for the raise you deserve. She owes it to herself to go on the adventure she's always dreamed of. We owe it to ourselves to cultivate meaningful relationships. You owe it to yourself to prioritize your well-being. I owe it to myself to forgive and move on from past mistakes. They owe it to themselves to try new experiences. He owes it to himself to take control of his financial future. You owe it to yourself to assert your boundaries. She owes it to herself to seek happiness and fulfillment. We owe it to ourselves to create a supportive community. Have no choice but to. We have no choice but to postpone the event due to bad weather. He had no choice but to accept the job offer in another city. They have no choice but to comply with the new regulations. She had no choice but to cancel her trip because of the travel ban. I have no choice but to sell the car after the accident. You have no choice but to apologize after what happened. We had no choice but to move the meeting online. He has no choice but to undergo surgery for his condition. They have no choice but to evacuate the area immediately. She has no choice but to shut down her business temporarily. I had no choice but to take legal action to resolve the issue. You have no choice but to study harder if you want to pass the exam. We have no choice but to cut costs to save our company. He had no choice but to tell the truth when confronted. They have no choice but to accept the changes and adapt. She has no choice but to rely on public transport after losing her license. I have no choice but to work extra hours to meet the deadline. You had no choice but to leave early due to the emergency. We have no choice but to cancel the subscription due to budget constraints. He has no choice but to face the consequences of his actions. They have no choice but to delay their wedding plans. She had no choice but to find a new home for her pet. I have no choice but to ask for help in this situation. You have no choice but to follow the guidelines for your safety. We had no choice but to make the difficult decision to let some employees go. I cannot but admire her courage in facing such challenges. He cannot but feel proud of his children's achievements. They cannot but agree that the new policy is beneficial. She cannot but wonder what the future holds. We cannot but celebrate after receiving such good news. You cannot but laugh at the absurdity of the situation. I cannot but be grateful for all the support I've received. He cannot but reflect on how much has changed over the years. They cannot but hope for a positive outcome. She cannot but be moved by the touching story. We cannot but acknowledge the hard work of our team. You cannot but be impressed by the innovation in the industry. I cannot but feel a sense of responsibility towards the community. He cannot but marvel at the beauty of nature. They cannot but express their concerns about the environment. She cannot but aspire to make a difference in the world. We cannot but look forward to the exciting opportunities ahead. You cannot but appreciate the complexities of human emotions. I cannot but cherish the memories of our time together. He cannot but question the decisions that led him here. They cannot but anticipate the challenges of the upcoming project. She cannot but dedicate herself fully to her passion. We cannot but stand in solidarity with those in need. You cannot but recognize the importance of continual learning. I cannot but feel optimistic about the future despite the obstacles.